What's up, Knife Tube? It's Diamond Cut Steel, and you guys are going to learn something today. So, what we're going to chat about is not the knife. This is a cold steel verdict. We're going to talk about 4116 stainless, or 1.4116, or also X50crmov15. That's another name you've probably seen and heard, but these are the same alloys, 4116 and X50CR, the same steel. They are a German steel that is very popular in kitchen cutlery. However, cold steel uses it in quite a bit of their folders, and it makes for a really solid user steel that isn't going to be no long edge retention steel, so don't expect that out of it, but it certainly has good attributes. And where this steel is really makes for a good pocket knife steel is with just how easy this steel takes an extremely keen edge. With something just as simple as this right here, you can pretty much do anything that you're going to need to do to keep an edge on 4116. The steel, you hear people talk poorly about it. It's common. It's a common steel that catches a lot of hell that it really doesn't deserve. Cold steel changed over to 4034 stainless and got away from the 4116, which in my opinion is a downgrade. Well, not in my opinion. It is factually a downgrade. But I believe that they did that because you just heard so much how 4116 is such a budget steel, blah, blah, blah. It's crappy. That's not really true. This stuff right here will outperform the vast majority of like 8CR that's on the market. The edge retention, that would be where I would put it at, is about where close to well done 8CR. And that's, that's perfectly serviceable edge retention for most people. Yet if you listen to, your Reddit comment section know-it-alls, they'll tell you 4116 is not even serviceable, that its edge retention so poor that, they wouldn't even put it in their pocket. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that is just not true. You get quite impressive performance out of this steel when you look at the price range of the knives that you can get it in. And not only that, but then you have the benefit of this being a steel that touches up on a ceramic rod so incredibly easy. You can have minor nicks and dings in the edge and on a ceramic rod and bring the edge right back to pristine. And that's got to do with it being, it's not no hyper wear resistant steel, nor is it no super hard steel. This is probably in the 55, 56 range. So, it's not no hard steel by no means. And again, it's not no super wear resistant steel, but it is a good steel. It's pretty tough. It's you're not going to chip it, or you shouldn't chip it. Let me say that. You could definitely chip it, but if you're using a knife as it's intended to be used, you're more than likely at max just going to roll the edge a little bit. So, you're not going to have no deep chips to have to sharpen out or anything like that, which is a big plus, especially if you're somebody who really uses your tools hard. That's your work knife, and you don't want to have to run back to the truck to get a box, like a box cutter, and you probably shouldn't use your pocket knife to cut this, but you don't want to run back to the truck, so you do it. And, you end up with a little roll or something. No big deal. It's easily correctable. That's where this stuff really shines. It also really shines well in a hunting knife. Say you're using this right here, you're out whitetail hunting, you kill your doe or you kill a buck, and you need to cape it and clean it. Right here, perfect knife. You may have to touch it up one time, through processing a whole deer. That's possible, but it's no big deal. Couple swipes on this ceramic, you're right where you want to be. Another place that it responds extremely well to a strop, even if it's a simple strop with just some here's a diamond strop, but say all you got is some chromium oxide wax compound on a piece of leather, you're good to go. That right there will get that knife right back here popping, and it'll do that many times. And that's just one of the great benefits of this steel. Along with, this is a steel that gets incredibly sharp. If you like steels that get crazy keen, that is something this steel will do. And that's partly because of the roots of it being a popular culinary steel. It's just like in the culinary world, it's a steel that takes a very sharp edge. And it's no different right here. It gets incredibly sticky. Shockingly sticky, actually. It's pretty impressive just how keen this steel will get, even with it being a steel that's on the softer side. If you like 14C, because 14C gets super keen, right? Well, this steel will do the same. Edge retention wise, I've said this steel's right up there with well done HCR. I would say through fine edge and working edge, it's not going to be very far off of 14C. Not from my use, and I'm not talking about cut tests, but from my day-to-day use, I would say that the edge retention is actually very close to 14C 28N. And it touches up even easier than 14C 28N does. And you know how easy that stuff touches up. So it really is an impressive budget steel. It catches a lot of hate, and I'll tell you one reason why it catches a lot of the hate, and it doesn't deserve it. And that goes back to its other name, X50crmov15. People automatically, they see that X50, it's 5CR. And that's that automatically right away, as soon as they see that and they put it as 5CR, that's it. It can't be any good. It's a trash steel. It's not even serviceable to be in my pocket. That is a huge part of why this steel doesn't get much love in the EDC knife community. Think about it. Do you really think that these companies such as, Hinkles or Westhoff, do you really think that they could sell knives that are as expensive as some of their sets are, that are in 4116 or X50crmov15, if it was just a trash steel? No. I mean, are there better steels? Of course. But my point is that it is in no way, shape, or form a bad steel. It gets a lot of hate because of that X50 thing, and people saying it's just 5CR. And that's, once they see that, that's it. And no 5CR is going to be in my pocket. That steel is not serviceable for me. And then, the parrots repeat what this guy said, and before you know it, the steel's got a terrible rap and nobody wants it. And I do believe that's a big part of why cold steel started replacing the 4116 knives and doing them in 4034, just because they wanted to get away from that association with X50 or 5CR. So they actually went to a lower performing steel, and people speak highly, people speak better about a lower performing steel just because it doesn't have that name. And that's, that's really the problem with the knife community, is people just get something stuck in their head and they parrot it across every platform. And before you know it, they've got people thinking, oh, this is just garbage, when they really have the person that started it had no idea in the first place. They're just, oh, it's 5CR, that's garbage. That's not true. This is a damn fine user steel that's available. I mean, come on, I paid I think $13 for this knife from Midway. This is a very high performance knife for $13. Sure, I have as many super steels as most people do. I've got top of the heap super steels and production knives and customs. But I have no problem sliding this knife right here in my pocket and going out and using the living hell out of it. So much so that I think I have 5 or 6 of these. And they get used. It's light in pocket. I said this ain't really about the knife, but the blade steel, it gives me what I need. If I'm out there doing a lot of work, will I kill the edge in a day? Absolutely. Sometimes I'll kill the edge in half a day. And sure, in that circumstance, I would like to have, a higher performance steel in my pocket. But I also always carry a pocket sharpener. So if that edge, if I'm doing a lot of work out, the homestead or the farm, whatever the case, if I'm out doing a lot of work and I kill that edge off 3 hours into my day, that's not really a problem, because in 30, 40 seconds, it's right back. I've got it back popping hair with good bite and ready to go for another couple hours. That alone makes this steel a really good user steel, just because of how quickly a ceramic rod will give you a great edge on this steel. You can go from butter knife dull to hair popping sharp in 30 seconds. And I'm not exaggerating. You're not gonna, even if say you're breaking down heavy boxes and you're pushing hard and slap into a staple, a thick wide crown staple, you're not gonna knock no chunk out of that blade. You're gonna make a little notch in it where it rolled. But hell, you can hop on the ceramic, make a few stropping passes on it where that little roll is, and straight take that roll right out of it. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it is soft, but there's also some benefit to it being soft like that. And that's that you're not going to get no nasty damage that you can't easily correct out on the job site. And again, most people are definitely not going to have to sharpen this knife even once a week. If you're just doing, your typical breaking down some boxes, opening up some boxes, cutting snacks, peeling an apple, etc., this edge will be perfectly fine for a couple weeks for you. Then and that's if you don't even touch it to a strop. If at the end of the day you get home, you make a couple passes on a strop, it's right back to popping hair. That edge is going to last you a very long time. I hate to see 4116 get the bad rap that it gets, and because it's undeserving of it. The Chinese steels knocking off the German steels naming, the way they name steels, like 5CR, 15MOV. Well, that's their analog of X50CR, MOV15. So that's their, the naming spectrum is very similar. Um, and people just automatically they associate those steels as one. And at the end of the day, heat treat plays a big part in that steel. So just because you had some crappy 5CR that performed terrible doesn't mean that you're going to go get a Taiwan made 4116 knife and that it's going to just perform like shit. So, the steel just gets a rap that it doesn't deserve. If you run across a cold steel for a good deal and it's in 4116, give it a try. It really is a great steel. And if you like ultra sharp edges, man, 4116 gives that in spades. But don't sleep on this steel just because you read every Reddit post that says that it's not serviceable and doesn't deserve to be in your pocket. Give the steel a chance. Don't pay too much for it. But if you can pick you up a Verdict or a Range Boss or whatever, whatever model you're looking for, and you can pick one up for like, say, $20, 15, $20, give it a shot, because it's probably going to be a good performing knife for you that you're going to very much get your money's worth out of. And you're going to pretty quickly see that 4116 is not as bad of a steel as people make it out to be. And when you come off the stones with it, you're going to be shocked at how crazy, stupid sharp this stuff gets. So, I hope you learned something. Don't be scared to try some 4116. I promise you, it's not as bad as people say it is. You go ask anybody that actually uses the stuff, and they're going to say yes. It's a perfectly fine, perfectly decent performing steel. Just don't pay too much for it. Y'all have a good one.